divine creative energy, there is only the one spiritual truth. Mother, Father, God, the source and cause of all things in existence. I know that this dynamic spiritual energy is manifesting as the sun and moon and the stars in the sky. I know that it is the earth and the plants and trees and fields and flowers. It is the rain and the storms and the dew on the grass. It is the night wind, it is the morning breeze, it is the air that I breathe that breathes me. And it is life. It is that fragile, tender, vibrant, vigorous, robust, evolving expression of life. I am a child of this divinity, and by my birthright I am whole, perfect, and complete, as I am, right here, right now. I speak this as my truth, and I claim it, and I proclaim it, and I speak it as the truth for each and every person on the face of this planet. Each of us is a unique, divine expression. And so in this awareness and knowing this, I, Kuwaza Imara, am speaking my word. And I'm speaking my word that this is a blessed day. That from the moment we had conscious awareness, we were being blessed today. Blessed with life. Yes. Blessed with wholeness, wellness. Blessed with the healing of spirit. Blessed with the opportunities to be more than we are. For the goodness and grace and blessings are flowing forth from spirit through each and every moment of this day. And so in this awareness, I speak my word that this service is blessed. As is each service where truth is being spoken, whether in temples, ashrams, wherever two or more are gathered, there is the presence of spirit. And so I know that here today, there are those who came bringing with clear intention. I am bringing my spirit. I am bringing the individualized expression of God in me, through me, as me to this place, to add to growing understanding, to add to the healing of the planet. We have spoken the words, Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. We have invited Spirit to be present here. And I'm knowing that the other part of that is that Spirit is waiting for us to move into that space, to answer the invitation to us to be more than we are, to let go of the limitations we have imposed on ourselves, to let go of the idea that there's anything lacking in our lives, whether it be perfect health, whether it be finances, whether it be that rich, rewarding, fulfilling relationship. So right here, right now, in this place, we come to let go of those ideas, to embrace the idea that Spirit is here, acting through us, as us, and for us. So I know that there are those spirits here today who are the healers, holding the idea, the high road, the consciousness that Spirit is present. There are those of us who have come to leave those burdens behind, to join in fellowship with like minds, to grow. I give thanks that there is this community where each of us can come and be honored and treasured as that unique expression of the divine, regardless of where we come from, regardless of whatever we call our story, regardless of who we look like, or whatever our ethnicity is, whatever our class origin is, whatever our ethnic expression is. I give thanks that we have this space where we can come together in spirit to honor the divine, to grow more in our own truth. And I give thanks. I give thanks for our senior minister, for Ms. Celeste Frazier, as she brings forth the word to inspire us, to encourage us. I give thanks for our assistant ministers who support the ecclesiastical arm of the church. I give thanks for the practitioners holding the high watch, ever available to our congregants and community in prayer. I give thanks for the music ministry that inspires us with his word and song. I give thanks for the volunteers who have come to prepare this place and space for us. And I give thanks for each person who has come here this morning with clear intention. I want to be part of the healing, not just for myself, but for my community. And in this attitude of gratitude and thanksgivingness, I, Kuwaza Imara, release this, my word, to the activity of the law. I know that it is already in expression. It's already manifesting. It's already becoming real. So I let go. I turn it over to God to do His work. And I ask you to anchor this with me for all time by saying, Ashe. Amen. Amen. So it is. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's a good God day. Yes. My name is Kuwaza Imara, and I am your corporate assistant for this morning. At this point in our morning service, we will have the reading of our sacred covenant. Let me ask you to stand. This may be in the folder on your seat in front of you. There are also copies that are available from the ushers as they move. Just raise your hand and you can get a copy. This is the covenant that was developed as we were conducting a search for a senior minister for our congregation. And it's a covenant in terms of us having a community that is working together, that is seeking to empower each other as we grow in spirit. Let us read this together. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions. Because I know that my highest purpose is to glorify God, I therefore know that I am a revelation of God as wisdom. I
Good morning. My name is Reverend Celeste Frazier. I am the spiritual leader of the East Bay Church of Religious Science, and it is my joy to welcome you here today. As we said in the Sacred Covenant, we are here to be together, to be on purpose, to reveal God, and to absolutely embody all that the divine is as each one of us. So, whatever configuration that may be, whether it be black, white, red, nobody's any of those colors. Brown, well, we're brown, but we're not associated with brown, so you know, whatever your race is, whatever path that you came to in order to arrive here today, all of you are welcome. All of us who are in any way expressing the presence of God, we just welcome you here. And we know that many of us are of different genders and sexualities. We welcome you here. We're knowing that for each one who chooses to be identified in the way that they want to be identified, that we honor that. And so welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to also welcome anyone who is here at East Bay for the very first time. Let us honor you by standing so that we may confer a blessing upon you. Please remain standing. And the congregation raises our hands in your direction. And they repeat after me. Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
We know who you are.
We know who you are.
You are an individualized expression.
You are an individualized expression
Of love.
of love,
Beauty.
unity,
And peace.
and peace.
We're so glad you're here.
We're so glad you're here.
Please make yourself at home. We're grateful that you chose to be here. Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
Welcome to the East Bay Church of Religious Science.
Please take your seats with honor. So now we resume our program, but we take a moment to meet and greet someone who we've never met before. Please don't use this as an opportunity to stay in your cliques. Please use this as an opportunity to meet a new expression of God.
glad that we had this moment to say hello. We can further connecting after service. Hello? We can further connect after service. So let us return to our seats. After service today, there is a community potluck that will have ample opportunity to connect and engage with one another. At this time, we will have some community opportunities presented to us.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Ayana Ann Johnson, and I'm going to share community opportunities in the form of announcements. First-time visitors, please come to the tape room next to the hospitality table, which is out in the foyer. After service, to get a free CD and DVD copy of today's service. It's another way for us to say, welcome to East Bay Church of Religious Science. Thank you for your presence here. Today is Potluck Sunday. The East Bay Church Religious Science Potluck is today after service. Please be sure to join us for some food, some folks, and fellowship. In memorandum, the East Bay family of Mary Arnold invites you to a memorial celebration in Mary's honor at 12:45 p.m. after service today. The celebration will be in East Bay's hidden garden behind the church, outside of the youth and family area. And Brenda is going to tell you a little bit more about it.
Well, you basically covered it, but we didn't get a chance to celebrate Mary Arnold. A lot of us didn't know that she had passed away. She was on vacation in Mexico. And so we're going to do it today, and we're going to dedicate our first planting in our new hidden garden to Mary Arnold. So please come on right after service. We'll do about 30 minutes or so, and go ahead and celebrate her. And we have people here who she knew outside of the East Bay community. So we'll make them welcome and just have a good old time.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Brenda. New member orientation classes. If you're interested in becoming a member of East Bay Church of Religious Science, please come to the first of 3 sessions after service today at 12:45 p.m. in the Reverend E. Building Community Room. We welcome you. Wednesday night service. We welcome you to the new Wednesday night healing, revealing service. Give yourself a lift that you need to get through every week. Our ministers and practitioners will be there for you to offer you light. Meditation is at 6:15 p.m. The service is at 6:30 p.m. Ministry meetings this week. There's a daily meditation here on Tuesdays through Fridays from 12:30 p.m. to 1 p.m. It's free. During our renovation, the meditation will take place in the bookstore. Please enter through the telegraph door this week in order to attend the meditation. Women's choir rehearsal. It will be Monday, August 27th at 7 p.m. and it'll be in the sanctuary here. Adoptive Parent Support Group meets at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, August 30th in the Reverend E. Building. Vision Masters. meets at 7 p.m. Friday in the community room of the Reverend E. building. And the Women's Empowerment Circle meets at 11 a.m. That's coming up Saturday, September 1st in the Reverend E. building. Fall classes. The 2018-19 school year is open for registration. An overview of the classes offered is in today's bulletin. You can register at the kiosk, which is out in the foyer, or online for the pre-class discount at East Bay, ebcrs.org. Lemonade Stand. Our youth and family ministry hashtag Stand for Kids Lemonade Stand was a tremendous success. This past Sunday, they had their lemonade stand, and our youth showed up and represented big time, and in so many ways. Hand squeezing lots of lemons, making tasty lemonade, popping popcorn, I had a little bit of that, and arranging and serving platters of generously donated baked goods, and watermelon, setting up the space, promoting the event, collecting donations, cleaning up, and on and on. Thank you to the youth and family ministry. The energy and enthusiasm inside the fellowship hall was electrifying and palpable. So much so that it drew folks who were walking by the church inside, where many made financial donations and wrote letters to detained immigrant youth that will be delivered to the National Domestic Workers Alliance. As a result of your generosity, we raised $1,119.73. It's up to $12.50 now. And donations are still coming in. 100% of the donations received will be split 50-50 between two national organizations with local chapters. We Belong Together, sponsored by the National Domestic Workers Alliance, and the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights. What took place last Sunday was a beautiful and powerful confirmation of what happens when we come together in our commitment to create a world that works for everyone. And that we are indeed better together. So it is. Thank you.
Now, we will have a little bit of musical inspiration, led by Vanessa on keyboard.
Don't you know that I am holding you? Yes, yes. Here I am in every breath you take. In my arms are everywhere you are. I carry you. I stand the test of time for you. Hear me calling you. I am the rock. I am the place of salvation. I am the strength. I am the hand that you hold on to. I am the voice that is always saying, I will give you rest. I will give you
I am known by many names to some. But what is real, I am only one. And my arms are everywhere you are. I have carried you. I have stood the test of time for you. Feel me loving you. I am the rock. I am the place of salvation. God is the strength. God is the hand that you hold on to. God is the voice that is always saying, I will give you rest. I will give you rest. All ye heavy laden, come. All ye heavy laden, I will give you rest. All ye heavy laden, come. All ye heavy laden, I will give you rest. All ye heavy laden, come. All ye heavy laden, I will give you rest. All ye heavy laden, come. All ye heavy laden, I will give you rest. God is the rock. God is the place of salvation. God is the strength. God is the hand that you hold on to. God is the voice that is always saying, I will give you rest. I East Bay Music Ministry. Vanessa Wynn on piano. Darryl on drums. Bobby on bass. I am the rock. The lyric says,
I am the hand you hold on to. I am the voice that is always saying, I will give you rest. Sometimes it seems like somebody has to bash our knees to make us stop and kneel down. Even if it's in humility or not, we always have to come to a place of surrender. And all the while, Sugar Daddy is waiting for you to climb in its metaphoric loving arms. I had to say metaphoric because we often humanize God. We get it twisted thinking that God was made in our image. Nope, it's the other way around, folks. That's Ebonics for probably. Why we don't trust God. We think he's just a slob like me. Well, hopefully if you do refer to yourself as a slob, it's an acronym for spirit-led, obviously blessed. If we minimize God's might, then it's difficult to affirm faith in her. I switch up the pronouns of God. It's all inclusive, so rather than make God non-binary and total, I just mix it all up. Now faith, the evidence. We constantly get proof. Every day, all day long. Don't we? I tell my students this about life and what they call death. Some of you know my Uncle Corky died this week. And it was rough because he was the one who would make you laugh. Reverend Anthony came to my office to pray with me, and what happens, in this case, it happened that while he was praying for me, I would see my Uncle Corky, who was a bus driver, sitting behind the wheel, the steering wheel. And then I realized that he was moving on to his next stop. Now the same thing happened with my Aunt Sadie a few weeks ago when Robert was praying with me, and I saw a whole nother family scenario with her greeting my great-grandmother and all of this, and so I just call heaven the dimension of the real. See, it's not particularly a place with fluffy clouds, it's just energy in its purity. Now I think of moments like that as evidence. Pure spirit doesn't just activate my imagination when someone is praying with me or for me. It gives me permission to see things as they really are. Evidence is when all you got is a vision and the congregation comes forth with most of the budget for beautifying our church here. That's evidence. Evidence is when a former presidential candidate who was a prisoner of war and a decent person who didn't diminish himself by degrading his opponent, but by complimenting him. I was able to love someone who was in a different political party, not because of his choice of political parties, but because of his essence. See, we don't act like we know what we're saying when we're talking the talk. Because sometimes we play crazy, but the evidence is clear. God is real. God is the rock. So finally, when we are knocked to our knees, we take the hand of God. Let me make this plain and get real with a capital R. And I stop acting like it's me that's got to do everything. I let go of what? The illusion that it's me doing the work. That's how, I tell people, they laugh when I say it. They were like, oh, this and that, and it's so rough, and it's such a struggle. And I just look at them and say, that's because you think you're doing the work. So when they see you, can they see the Father? Or is your bloated nothingness getting in the way of God's presence being evident? I'm talking about the substance of things hoped for, not mind games. According to Ernest Holmes, faith is inwardly embodied so much that the mind can no longer deny it. We talk about consciousness. Well, consciousness has more flavors than Heinz 57. Consciousness is awareness. So what is your awareness on right now? Is it subjective acceptance? Can you really do what Byron Katie asks us to do and love what is? Or does it have to be my way? Some may think that about me. I don't care. I don't get twisted by that kind of nonsense. But what I do know is I'm not attached to outcome like most people. But I'm not crazy, so I'm not going to try to push the river, right? So I just want to honor my agreements. Don Ruiz says, be impeccable with your word. Sometimes we mess up. But what I do after that is what matters. I don't have control over you, but I do have control over me. And I believe in the invisible more than I do in the visible, in the crazy that my eyes show me. See, I read about the murders and shootings that were going on in Chicago in the past 24 hours. And they named the streets where people were killed or where people were shot. And I've been on those various streets. And when I've been on those various streets, most of the time I was doing something to quell the violence in the city. And when I think about being on those various streets at any given time, including the days when I was out there on the street trying to promote peace, sometimes with the protection of the men of Islam, they might have been a block away, and God knows a bullet travels faster than that. I would be in my car, promoting, music that had a message of peace or a message of, self-esteem or message trying to let the gang members hear truth. And I was never hit. And when you go right into the heart of the activity and you don't get hit, then you get really humbled, because there were 4 neighborhoods in Chicago in the last 24 hours that got hit, and I had been doing work in each one of those. So I give thanks that I was not one of the fallen. I got to live to speak this word. And I'm speaking this word to you about faith because I know that the evidence of peace may not always be apparent. But it's the invisible principle that matters. Holmes says, quoting Jesus, of course, that faith has made thee whole. So what do you believe in? Where do you believe from?
Amen.
See, all month I've been speaking on the monthly theme, spiritual mind treatment, the form. But I haven't been using those words. Treatment is really about speaking your word, but living is about practical application. So although a lot of New Thought people like to deny that we are Christian, even though more than a third of the textbook is about the teachings of Jesus, we're also practical Buddhists, practical Hindi, practical Taoists, practical Shintoists. We're practical pagans. Now, even though pagan got twisted to mean that you worship idols, it's really about worshiping the God in nature. So let's not get caught up in words and terminology. Let's deal with truth.
Yes.
The first Sunday, my topic was the nature of God. That's like recognition. So first, you got to think about what God is. That's when they were throwing down that song, God Is. And how do you recognize God? It's not by form. It's by substance. Are you listening to your inner critic? Is what we talked about at that time. Or are you listening to the mental melodrama? And I suggested that you get clear through spiritual practices and to choose to awaken from confusion and study the nature of God as your very soul. The second Sunday, my topic was, I am a spiritual being. I'm here for my God to reveal. Remember that song? I was talking about stretching, breathing into the pain, breathing into the tension. And that treatment deals with thought, not people. And if we get stuck on one thought, then we're closing our hearts because we're now invested in the condition rather than the possibility of penetrating the condition through faith. Yes. So just as you can have thought about what's going on in the current news, you can also allow yourself to consider rewriting the script of Once Upon a Time. So Once Upon a Time can now be more than here's what I see. But we can then co-create what we want to see. So last week the title was The Kingdom of Heaven. And I asked you to love in order to transform. I asked you to pray in order to release. And I asked you to flow by embracing your divine qualities. I asked if you were bringing heaven or bringing hell. I asked that you look at the energy that's passing through you or whether you were trying to block it. Because when you block it, that makes it stay. And so we talked about how fear doesn't like change. And how nothing and no one can stand in your way but you. And we can face our fears in order to dispel them.
Yes, amen.
And as a spiritual being, we realize the truth of who we are. Now that was unification and realization part 1. Here's realization part 2. Again, from the Untethered Soul, Singer says, when you truly awake spiritually, you realize that you are caged. Didn't think about that, I'm sure. Because when you realize that you're caged, you're like, not me, I'm not caged. What you talking about, Reverend Savior? Do you move past your comfort zone? Talk to me now.
Yes.
Do you tell people what you really think? No, I mean, you don't have to be nasty about it. I mean, you're intelligent enough to be able to find a way to speak your truth, right? How do you set limits on yourself? And that's for you to ask yourself. Just ask yourself these questions. Do I speak my truth? That's also being impeccable with your word. That's also saying, have you set limits on yourself? Because you're the one who's caged you in, nobody else has. I mean, you know, the children that are being detained have truly been caged in, but how are you caging yourself in? How are you limiting yourself? How are you creating boundaries that you will not cross? How are you creating a place where you will not allow other people to come into? Okay? So you don't have to tell me, because when you hit the bars of that cage, you know it.
Yeah.
You know, they have electronic fences for dogs now. They're invisible. So are the fences that you have put up around you. When you hit those barriers, you must be willing to go beyond them. Okay? Now, when you're an athlete and you hit a limit, you allow yourself to love those edges because they're pointing you to your greater yet to be. Michael Jordan and other great athletes have learned it. They've learned not to be satisfied with defeat, but to be motivated to be greater. That's not just for the athletes, that's for us too. But first, you have to do what Michael Singer says. He calls it letting go of false solidity. And when you're holding on to an inner world, you know, you have this in your mind, everything is supposed to be the way it is, it's supposed to look the same way it always looked, and everybody's going to act the same way that they've always acted. And, you know, you write this script and you think that this is the way things are going to look. But, okay, that's not stability. That's what the Buddhists call clinging. And clinging is really holding on to a certain thing, a certain set of thoughts, a certain set of emotions. Clinging is primal, Singer says. So understand, you are not your thoughts. That's a big key component of this book that we're finishing up today. I still have the MP3s going, but you are not your thoughts, okay? You are not your emotions. You are not your body. Course in Miracles says, I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. So think beyond the simple relationship between thoughts, emotions, and body. You're more than that. Say to your neighbor, I am more than that. So when you build your sense of self around your thoughts, when you build your sense of self around your emotions, when you build your sense of self around your body, then no wonder you're having frustrations, no wonder you're having suffering, no wonder you're in trauma and turmoil. You know, you start making up all of this stuff about yourself that isn't true. And just because the thoughts come in, that doesn't mean that they're true. If they're not life-affirming, then they need to be dispelled from your mind because they're taking up space where you can truly be tuned in to your divine essence that really has something to say to you. And when you're so busy walking around talking about your feelings are hurt and they hurt me and they disrespected me and all of this, and that's still not who you are because you are not a victim unless you allow yourself to stay in that cage being defined by somebody else's thoughts. So understand that you are not your body. Whether you are a brick house or whether you look like you're big as a house, that's still not who you are. Okay? That is the container in which your consciousness has outpictured your need for protection. Oh, I know that. I know I gained weight for protection as a minister. Marianne Williamson told me that one day. I was at this symposium she was doing on her book about weight. It's called something about weight loss. And she said, oh, I know, because that's why I'm not a minister anymore, because you be gaining weight for protection, girl. But then whose responsibility is it to take care of me, right? And so, yeah, there are causes out there and there are effects, but then what do we do about it once we come to the realization that this cause has produced this effect? We create a new cause. That's why we're called new thoughts, not because most of us are having a new thought, because most of us are not. But because you, as a creative being, as a spiritual being, as an emanation of God, have the power to create a new effect by choosing a new frame of thinking, a frame of mind, a way of thinking that is different from the one that got you in this mess in the first place. Einstein told you, you cannot solve the problem at the level of the problem. So you're going to have a new mind in order to approach it in a new way, in order to have a new result. Okay, now, you cannot find your essence while seeking to define yourself as one set of thoughts and emotions. You don't want to be boring, do you? Okay. Even if your set of thoughts is, I am a woman, the you that created you is greater than one gender. Your beliefs are not you either. They can change. Your job is not who you are. That can change. Because truly, when you retire, you don't have to be lost. When you change careers, you don't have to be lost. We put facades out there. And then, now that we have projected them out to the world, we think we got to live up to them forever and ever. Amen. At night. Why? Why do we do that? Do we want to be taken seriously? I mean, really? Who cares about what people think about you? We are evolving beings. If you don't grow, you go. Amen. You want to grow or you want to stay? Just ask them. So Neil Simon, a great playwright, died today. I'm a playwright. I've written several plays, produced several plays, but that's not all I am. My work has been done on both coasts. People know me as different expressions in different roles. But I am not just that one definition.
Yes, amen.
What if the person who created the Etzel only identified themselves as that? Young people don't know what I'm talking about, the Etzel. That was a car that lasted about 2 years. Ford Motor Company would not be in existence today if that person identified itself as the Etzel. So just because you create in a certain way at a certain time doesn't mean that that's all that you are. So, what are creative beings but people who create? Okay? We have the ability to be more. Things are going to happen, Singer says, and you're going to feel the tendency to close. You're going to want to close your heart. You're going to want to close your mind. You're going to want to just stay safe, be like a turtle, right? So you can either go with it or let it go. If you find it hard to stay open, he says, then meditate. Because meditation helps you to keep your heart open. When your heart starts to tighten, relax it. Staying open puts you on the path of unconditional happiness. Deciding to be happy will also allow you to become more enlightened. Somebody's real happy back there right now. So the invitation is to choose to be happy. Choose to enjoy life. Be happy while you are here. A lot of people are opting out of this dimension right now, and y'all know that. And we're all going to transition. Wouldn't you rather take nice luggage than old beat up luggage with you on your journey? Just saying. So, Singer asks us, if the game is to stay happy, make sure you win. I'm going to read a section from the book. Do you think God likes to be around people that are happy or people that are miserable? It's not hard to tell. Just think about it by imagining that you're God. You created the heavens and earth so that you can plan and experience yourself. And now you're dropping down to check on your humans. So God asks the first human he sees, how are you doing? The human says, what do you mean, how am I doing? Well, do you like it here? No, I don't like it here. Why not? What's wrong? That tree is bent in 5 places. I want it to be straight. This person went out with somebody else, and that person ran up a $100 phone bill. This person has a nicer car than mine, and that person dresses funny. It's just terrible. Plus, my nose is too big, my ears are too small, and my toes are weird. I'm not happy with it. I don't like any of it. So God says, well, what about the animals? The animals, the ants and mosquitoes bite you. It's a terrible thing. I can't go out at night because there are all these animals out there. They howl and poop all over the place, and I just don't like it. Do you think God likes listening to this? He says, what do you think? I'm a complaint department? Then he goes and visits somebody else. He asks, how are you doing? The person says, I'm ecstatic. God says, wow, how do you like things? They're beautiful. Everything I look at just creates waves of joy inside me. I look at that bent tree, it just blows me away. That ant comes and bites me, and it's just so amazing that a tiny ant could be brave enough to bite a giant like me. Now you guess who God wants to hang out with. One of the ancient names for God in the yogic tradition is Satchitananda, eternal conscious bliss. God is ecstasy. God is as high as it gets. If you want to be close to God, learn to be joyful. And in closing, I'm going to say this. Don't resist bliss. Say to your neighbor, don't resist bliss. When you relax and release, you go through tremendous spiritual growth. Life is giving you the gift of growth. Deep within us, there is a direct connection to the divine. Choose to identify with that part. You already know the other stuff. Grow past the tension. Release the lower vibrations. Let yourself feel the love of God. Then your soul, your Atma, falls into oneness. That's when you can say, I and my Father are one. John 10:30. God truly loves us. God is not judging us. Love sees the beauty in you. True love looks past the humanness. He who is without error cast the first stone. John 8:7. No stones were thrown. Forgive them. they know not. Luke 23:34. God's nature is light, love, perfection, compassion, giving. You can't make it stop loving you. Think about the ecstasy of God. That's what God sees when it looks at you. Namaste. Let's pray. Mother, Father God, infinite spirit, truth, beauty, joy, freedom, all this expansive allness and isness, this creativity, this essence of my soul. This is the essence of each one of us. Each one of us here, each one of us live streaming, each one of us everywhere. And so I am knowing that we're connected now by this supply of the all good, by this love, by this intelligence that guides and directs us, by this ecstasy that sweeps us up with its joy, in joy, being joy as our lives. And I'm knowing that we're no longer caging ourselves. We are no longer keeping ourselves limited by old thoughts and emotions, no longer limited by body images and complaints about what it looks like out there. And I'm knowing that the God in us is able to see the beauty of every opportunity that comes our way, that each opportunity for closing our heart is ignored, and for each chance to love more, to love past the humanness, to love past the seeming errors called missing the mark, that each one of us is able to grow and glow in God. I know that every prayer that has been placed in that box is now fulfilled. For I am knowing that the peace that passes all understanding belongs to each person who has written down a prayer request and those who are holding a prayer request on their hearts. Oh, I'm knowing peace for my friend Sunshine Michelle Coleman, whose father left yesterday. I'm knowing peace for Justine and Sharon, who are moving through their well-being challenges. I'm knowing peace for those who are letting go of John Kane. I know peace for those who are letting go of Neil Simon. I'm knowing peace for those who have been grieving for years and decades, are in bereavement. For I am knowing that peace lives in their beloved, for their beloved has no end. Each of us has no end. Each of us are qualified to be eternal because we were created from the eternal as eternal beings. And so I know that it's all good because all of it is God. I know that it is all joy, for all that is created was created out of joy. So anything in that relationship that is not bringing joy must be transmuted and released. I am knowing that any place where there feels like there is lack, that tension, that constriction is a cage that we are now ready to bust out of, for it is a set of thoughts that are keeping us limited. And I'm knowing that if that set of thoughts is not getting me across the finish line, then it is not mine. I do not identify with that set of thoughts and those set of emotions. I do not identify with a poor body image because I am more than a body. I am free. I am as God created me. I know that the presence and the essence of God is me, that we are one. And so I give thanks for the wonderful way that I simply relax and allow the presence of God to be God as my life. In gratitude, I release this word with ease. I let it be. I know it is done. My mind is one with the mind of God. I say, and so it is. Amen. Ashe. And by the way, hallelujah. glory now. God. We're going to show God we believe. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to show God that we can move from red to black by the stroke of a pen or a swipe of a card, or by a text to tithe 50-155. We're going to let the universe know that we believe in our joy and we are in it to win it. We're going to let the universe know that everything that we hold dear is already ours. And we seal it with our givingness, for we know that we are part of that divine flow. So even as the choir sings that song in tribute to Mary Arnold, we still know that God is still blessing her too. And so we now turn our attention to the blessings that we have embodied by placing them in the basket or swiping or texting. The blessing that we are being in the flow of that good. The blessing that each of us are to bless East Bay with its needs for the wondrous and wonderful things that are happening here, for a light bill that is now only $13.89. We're blessing God for the capacity to have the solar roof, and God, we're blessing everything that this congregation has said yes to for the greater good of this community. And we're knowing that all the gifts shared are continuing to build heaven on earth as us. So we give thanks for the giver and the giving nature of God that is intrinsic to us all. In gratitude for the receivers that we are as well. We receive our bountiful blessings in greater and greater ways because we are committed to be in our joy to win it. I lovingly release this word and let it be, and so it is. Amen.
Hey, everybody. I'm Reverend Willa, the Director of Youth and Family Ministry. Grateful to be here, and Mark is going to share with you what our topic is today, and a bit more about what happened last Sunday. So who wants to start? What's our affirmation? Number mine. My thoughts, my words, my actions, my energy are powerful. I choose the good ones. So let's talk about last Sunday and how that ties in.
Last Sunday we had a lemonade stand slash bake sale. We had it because so parents can be reunited with their families because immigrants have to be separated with their families.
Solomon, what did we do at the beginning? Remember? We talked about what happened at the beginning.
At the beginning, there was like an opening prayer, so then that kind of helped with the people and money and stuff.
Yeah, because our thoughts, our words, our actions, our energies are powerful. And what happened was, we had youth doing every aspect of the lemonade stand, and they had the front doors open. Amanda, do you remember what happened outside in the front? What happened was the energy in the building was so phenomenal. The front doors were wide open, and what happened?
Random people inside the church.
Random people. But we know they're not random. They've been looking for us. And because our thoughts, our words, our actions, our energy are powerful, we drew them in. And what happened then, because we believe in a world that works for everybody, turn this around. What we did through your collective consciousness and your generosity was, we raised $1,250. Thank you. All of which will go to 2 organizations assisting in reuniting detained youth with their parents. You may still donate via our website on the donate button. There's a lemonade stand option or our kiosk in the fellowship hall. You can always give me checks or money. We'll make sure you get a receipt. And if you want to write a letter to a youth who's being detained, we'll have pens and crayons and paper after the service. Thank you for your love and your support.
Thank you, children, and thank you, Reverend Willa. Thank you, youth and family staff. Let's stand now to pray out. Okay, so the kids have jars. What's going on there?
These are their smile jars. It's for them to write affirmations and words and to put positive thoughts in to remind themselves of who they really are when they don't feel like who they really are. It's for them to pull a goodness thing out and to put a goodness thing in, because that's who they are.
So we've been talking in the front and in the back about who we are. We've been talking about how to get ourselves out of a cage of misery and to position ourselves into being unconditionally happy. For we know that God's loving eyes are on us all the while. When we leave this place, we don't forget it. If there's congestion outside, the parking lot, we say, this too is God. When there is something that we see in the mirror that looks less than how we want it to look, we say, this too is God. And in the coming days, as we move forward, we remember who we are, and it makes it much easier to remember who everyone else is that we see. Oh, I'm grateful for all that has occurred this day so far and all that is to follow. And in gratitude, I lovingly release this word and let it be. And so it is.